Hi, my name is Brian Ostrowski, and first of all allow me to thank Samuel Zine for his very kind invitation to allow me to participate in this very exciting forum. Secondly, allow me to apologise for not being able to participate live online, and unfortunately I'll have to give you the next best thing, and that is a pre-recorded PowerPoint. I know that can be boring for most people. So the topic I like to talk about, very close to my heart, is online education, particularly online education in the digital age. Today, something like 35% of all interactions, social, business, 35% is digital. So a lot of us use our phones, our text messaging, and a lot of other sort of devices to communicate to one another, and we then don't use too much face-to-face. And this now also overlaps into the world of education, where the 21st century student now prefers to actually have digital education delivery at a time convenient to themselves, rather than have to then go to a scheduled time class and virtually travel, park the car. They prefer this blended learning or total online learning. Now, of course, that presents a challenge for all educators, and that's a topic I'll sort of expand upon a little later on. Just before I move on to the next slide, down below, and you've probably noticed, and if you haven't noticed, well, if you can write this down, but there will be a pre-recording, so you'll have a lot of time. There is an interesting video on the digital future in terms of work and elsewhere, made by some clever chap from India, and I wish I could recall his name. You might have seen this, but at your leisure you might want to click onto the link and see this exciting YouTube video clip. Okay, so I'll move on, and I'll say here that we've got a lot of devices in this digital age, and those you see depicted in the picture on the top left hand side of this slide will know that maybe in 2 or 3 years even these will be outdated, or perhaps 5 years. But a lot of people do use the laptops, the smartphone, the iPads, or even the computers to actually communicate, and even sometimes watch entertainment, play online games, and yes, education. We have the 3D printing, which will probably change manufacturing in the next 10 to 15 years, and certainly again that's an important development which is part of the digital age, and maybe possibly can be used in the educational context. And 3D virtual classrooms, something I'm very excited about. The thing about traditional bricks and mortar is time encapsulated, and look, at the end of the day it's coming to its use by date. Lifelong learning really requires continuous education. Of course, students of the 21st century are balancing their work and family life needs, and online education can accommodate that as well. So online education will be on forever. The student cohort will continually enroll in subjects in order to be relevant in the ever-changing working environment. And I'm really talking about vocational education in this context. Here are some of the current applications that we use for delivering the online education. You can see on the top left corner a chat room. This is a way we can actually talk to online students and communicate to them and answer their questions on any issue they have with the subject and the assessment. We have the YouTube channel. I do indeed have a YouTube channel and use it extensively to embed videos into my platform. Emails is another way we all communicate with. Facebook. I'm currently, or I have tried to use Adobe Connect, but there are some technical problems. Yes, there are always technical problems. Of course, Skype for Business is something that I try to get onto, but I am not a business. so I couldn't seem to register, but apparently it's more superior to Adobe Connect. I'll take the word of users, but eventually I'll get on it. Below are two platforms for online learning delivery. Moodle is one, and I'll be talking more about the Moodle platform I've used, but also there is the Blackboard platform, and there's others. So this way you can enroll students. They are linked to a subject via this platform. All the materials are there, all the assessment is there, all the gamification is there. So we'll look at how this looks in the future, in some coming slides here. But before I move on to what I actually do on the Moodle, I'd like to talk about some exciting things actually happening to students coming to the classroom. And you can see on the left hand side a smart sort of board. It's like a massive TV screen, a touch screen. You can actually draw on it, write on it, present your PowerPoint presentations on it, link to YouTube, or even find documents on it. And normally you would be in front of it, and there'd be two other screens on either side of the classroom so students can view it. But the beauty of this is that students can actually access it by Wi-Fi, interact with it, download anything of interest almost immediately, and send questions to the teacher without having to put up their hand and raise their voice, and all see it, and that's the interaction. Those students who can't be there can view it live, and those who can't even view it live, the teacher can record the entire session. Also, in some cases, you can have a camera within the classroom, a pad to stand on, and the teacher standing on the pad can be seen. And when the teacher gets off the pad, then the screen for the distant student is what you see there. So this is the digitised classroom, and allowing distant students to participate in a classroom setting, and making them feel part of that whole classroom setting rather than being alone as the distant student. So now I'll show you the virtual classroom, which we're really working towards. Of course, I've got some of these from Google Image, and I've also got a picture down below there from a corporate setting. And in a corporate setting, what you have is, well, you can have meetings in this sort of setting, or you can have an educational program being delivered to workers who are remotely located from one another. Here in Australia, we're a large continent, and some of you come from countries that have large expanses between cities, and if you had workers in each of these cities, obviously this is one way of communicating, and no doubt some of you are quite familiar and have experience in this sort of corporate communication. Education can be delivered in the same manner, and the other thing, of course, is we have to be very tech savvy as teachers in using it, and we have to have content that is engaging for the student, because a lot of students could drop out as a result of the content maybe being boring, or in some cases the packages are too challenging at the beginning. So some of you familiar with games will know that you have the beginners, and then you progress onwards to more difficult sessions in a game. So education delivery should be similar in that sense, otherwise the dropout will be rather high, and that doesn't actually serve the purpose of online education. This is what my Moodle platform, and remember I did talk about Moodle earlier in an earlier slide. This is the opening. So if you can imagine your iPad, or even your smartphone, up this comes. It tells the student what the subject's all about. There is a teacher's message board down there. I can actually put messages which each student enrolled in that subject receives from me, and I can then move on, and I'll show you what else they will see. They see this. Now here is a menu, and I couldn't fit all onto this PowerPoint, but there are quite a number of them, and you'll see that there's an arrow on the left hand side. You click on the arrow and you then get the expansion. I should go back this way. My mistake, you do make mistakes here, and unfortunately I'm recording this. I don't know if I can do this again in terms of recording. Anyway, student feedback is the important area. You'll see a subject evaluation survey. Students click on that, quickly complete the survey, provides very useful information for those of us who actually develop the course and how we can improve it. And yes, there's an animated video explaining how that survey works. I use some software that provides these animations, and that can be quite effective. And look, I do this to engage the students. Text can be rather boring, so video and even music in some online productions are very useful for the student of today. And I'll just move on. Here, most importantly, is the assessment centre, and you can see here what they're supposed to do, the instructions as to what they're supposed to do. I've provided case studies and some templates under the right icon, which is towards the bottom right hand side of this slide. You'll see some structure guides. They can actually upload it to their own computers or USBs and then work on it, and at the next slide, when they're ready, they then submit the assignments in these drop boxes. The drop boxes for each of these assignments, they then, by so doing, I get notified that the assignment is there waiting for my grading, and then I can provide them with feedback and a grade, and they are in turn notified that this has happened and they know where they are at. The same with the feedback. We have some feedback that they can expect from the teacher, and this gives them an idea of the standard of assignment work they're supposed to produce for us. So I'll just move a little further if I can find my little, oh, here it is, and move to the next slide. And this is how some of the materials presented. There's a video here with me, what is knowledge management. They can play on that. That's a PowerPoint presentation. There are, under No, below that, there are some e-books with some text that I wrote, and of course some PDF under Read, which you can't probably see there, PDF documents. And again, I've got another session where I've used the No, and yes, you'll see a quiz, and these quizzes are completed, so you can set them up to the point that the students have to get the right answer, so they'll have to continually do the quiz until they get the right answer, and then I'll get notified that the student had undertaken the quiz and successfully completed it. So with this particular quiz, I set up as many times as you like, and eventually you'll get it done. Other teachers actually assess them and grade them. It's a matter of choice. There's a lot of things you can do with these online quizzes, and of course, again, we have the embedded video below that, and this is from someone else, which I can get from YouTube, embedded, and all that the students needs to do is click on that play button and they play it, and then go through the material thereby presented. So allow me to move on to something else. It has to be user friendly. So you can see I've got these headings, the quiz, the PowerPoints. Up here you'll see one of my own animations. You can find that on my YouTube channel. Animations are very useful. Never make them compulsory, because some students don't particularly want to watch animations, but just have them as an option for the Explorer student. I'll talk about the Explorer students a bit later on. People who like to sort of browse and then get back to the core of what they need to learn and then to be assessed on. You can see that in the background is the campus I work in, so distance students get the idea that they're not that far away, that they do belong to some sort of geographical campus, even if they're on the other side of the country. If not, on the other side of the world. So there are also PowerPoints down here that could be looked at, and these PowerPoints have a sound icon, so they can click on that icon, hear a narrated voice, mine, and then move on to the next slide and hear my narrated voice. To a certain extent they can't ask questions as someone can in the classroom, or the teacher can't sort of say, okay, well, let's have a conversation about this particular slide and ask all these questions, generate a discussion. But nonetheless, if you miss a class or you're a distant student, you can catch up with what I've said about the PowerPoint, because PowerPoints themselves don't tell the story. As you can see of what I'm doing here, they actually provide cues for my discussion. Alright, so I'll move on to the next, and here we are looking at the student perspective. So distant students and educators must remember this. They can create the online package, but ultimately they need to keep in touch with this distant student, because the distant student needs to know that there's someone on the other end, and the distant student needs to be able to communicate if they have any questions to ask, or they need some clarification about the assignment work. And really you've got to be there when they're ready to do this, because if you sort of leave it for a week, maybe they'll just get a bit discouraged and maybe even drop out. So a lot of communication, chat rooms, emails, even phone calls, very important, and to allow the student to know that you're there for them. And if they contact you and you're not available immediately, the protocol is to get in touch with them as soon as you can. And yes, you can use Adobe Connect for a bit of a face-to-face, or Skype, or even Skype for Business. So there's a lot of tools you can use in this digitised age to actually touch base with students, even in a face-to-face context. So just one last point before I sort of finish. There are students who are very self-directed. They manage their time. They'll set aside some time to do their studies. However, it's important, as I said earlier, not to frighten off students if you make the material too difficult, as well as the assessment. Do this progressively so that they can get in, just like a game, get themselves hooked, and then they'll go to one stage to the next with increasing levels of complexity until they finish the entire subject. There are some education games available. I'm sort of trying to work on one myself, and probably need some assistance from an IT person, and of course some self-assessment tools, particularly in the area of leadership, particularly providing leadership courses where people can assess the type of leader they are or personalities they are. And a lot of them are free, and they're freely available on the internet. And you can then hyperlink them to your Moodle platform, and students can access these. And it is quite useful to keep the students engaged. Of course, there are the different learning styles. Some students are saying, look, I don't have much time. Tell me what I really need to learn and what I need to do to be assessed to successfully complete the subject. Other students are saying, well, while I'm here, I like to browse. I get distracted. So for this reason, you can throw up some videos, some games that aren't essential, but they are complementary to learning, but will keep the explorer student engaged enough with your online content until such time they eventually complete the course themselves. So what we now do is come to the end. And again, I'd like to thank you for your time. Again, thank Samuel Zine for his very kind invitation. I'm sure that he, and if he has a team, will make a great success of this particular SeyTalks forum for 2017, as will you, with all your contributions and your discussions that will take us into the 21st century. given that I understand that you are all fairly young, maybe some millennials, maybe some XY generation, I would probably have to say that you are the future, not only of the countries that you actually come from or live in, but of the world. It's you who will become the future leaders, the doctors, the engineers, the educators, and look, you'll be doing professions that have yet to be invented, and hence the online learning or lifelong learning. I really do wish you all the best, and again I'd like to thank Samuel and yourselves for this privilege of being able to present at least my thoughts on online learning or digital education in the 21st century, and share with you my excitement that this has a long way to go. For those of you who might want to look at my educational animations, I do have the link there below. So again, thank you so much.